When you make decisions for your company, you look for the no-brainers. And if you have a lot of mailing to do, Stamps.com is the ultimate no-brainer. It streamlines your processes to make your business more efficient, which makes you less busy. Mail checks, invoices, legal documents, and everything you need to keep your business running with Stamps.com. Seamlessly connect with every major marketplace and shopping cart. Schedule package pickups and see your cheapest and fastest shipping options from different carriers, with rates up to 89% off USPS and UPS rates. And with the Stamps.com mobile app, you can take care of mailing and shipping wherever you are. Make the same no-brainer decision as over 1 million other businesses with Stamps.com. Sign up with code PROGRAM for a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. That's Stamps.com. Code PROGRAM.
It's Saturday the 11th of May. I'm Ciara Evans, and this was a week that saw the Tories rocked by another defection. Joe Biden criticised over arms pause for Israel, Scotland get its 7th First Minister, and the Met Gala bring out the stars.
Grab a cup of something hot, put up your feet, and get up to speed on the 7 biggest stories of the week. This is the Standout 7 from the Smart 7.
It's news,
but not the news.
The local elections didn't go well for the Conservatives. Of that, there can be no doubt. The loss for West Midlands Mayor Andy Street was the icing on the cake of defeat for Rishi, served up alongside the loss of almost 500 council seats and a by-election loss in Blackpool South. While Labour didn't have a spectacular set of results, they did win another seat in the Commons and landed a number of significant mayorships, including record third terms for Andy Burnham and Sadiq Khan. Labour's party chair Annalise Dodds said it's clear that the public have sent a message.
It was very clear that people voted for change. They voted to turn the page. I think that was a very clear message, but sadly Rishi Sunak doesn't seem to have listened to it, and he's not setting that date for the general election that people clearly desperately want.
The Prime Minister seemed determined to put a brave face on things, refusing to accept that a general election defeat was on the horizon. He'd been clinging to vote analysis that suggests similar voting patterns in a general election could lead to a hung parliament.
The result of the next general election isn't a foregone conclusion, and indeed the situation is closer than many people are saying, or indeed some of the opinion polls are predicting, and that's why I'm absolutely determined to fight incredibly hard for what I believe, and that's what I'm going to do.
Labour were keen to press their advantage throughout the week, starting with a speech by Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves at a City of London event on Tuesday, who was introduced by former Tory Minister Nick Bowles, who is now on Team Labour. Reeves didn't hold back in her speech either, accusing the Tories of gaslighting voters on the economy and dismissing Rishi's notion of a general election leading to a hung parliament.
Their plan is not working. We have not turned the corner. They've crashed the car and left it by the side of the road. But I know that we can do so much better.
PM Rishi Sunak's rough week continued on Wednesday as the second Tory MP defected to the Labour Party right before Prime Minister's question time. Even more shocking than the defection was who had defected. Natalie Elphick was a Tory MP for Dover and seen as a far-right Tory, and was definitely not someone that either party would have expected to switch sides. Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer welcomed her to the opposition benches.
Welcome Natalie Elphick to the Labour Party. And the reason that she's given for joining Labour Party is very, very important, because the Tory party has changed. It's left the centre ground.
She's a controversial figure whose husband was sentenced to 2 years in jail for sexual assault, and there's been a very mixed response from within Labour ranks. However, she was scathing about Prime Minister Rishi Sunak as she departed, blaming him for a failure to address migration.
He's not stopping the boats and he's letting the country down. Well, meanwhile, under Labour, they are clear that it is important to have defence, and they want to make sure that they have good national security. So I think we should have confidence that Labour are the party who will tackle this issue of the small boats.
The defection continued to cause shockwaves on Thursday. Labour Party Chair Annalise Dodds was asked how she felt about Labour's newest recruit.
Actually, I think it's right if people realise that they have been backing the wrong party, as Natalie Elphicke has realised, that they're able to then be clear that they've changed their mind. I think it's quite a courageous thing, actually.
The fact that Labour has welcomed her in is seen as a smart strategic move by Sir Keir Starmer, and it undermines some of the Tory attacks on his party as left-wing. It appears to have shaken confidence amongst the Tory leadership, with Leader of the House of Commons Penny Mordaunt doing her best to make light of it at the dispatch box.
Can I reassure the honourable gentleman that I am not about to defect to the opposition benches? They wouldn't be interested in me. I'm too left-wing.
Tensions continue to escalate in the Middle East this week as Israel issued orders for an evacuation of eastern districts of Rafah on Monday as it planned what it called a limited scope operation. The IDF said it wanted approximately 100,000 people to move to a designated humanitarian zone in southern Gaza, but James Elder from UNICEF said the prospect of a further evacuation will be horrifying for Palestinians sheltering in Rafah.
They'll go to an area in the middle zone called Deri Bala, where there is literally raw sewage in the streets, or maybe to Al Mawasi, which is a beach. Same story applies. Nowhere is safe, but as unbearable as this is, it's happening and it's going to be horrific.
Late on Monday evening, Hamas signalled that they were prepared to accept the ceasefire proposal put forward by Qatar and Egypt, which they hoped might see the Rafah operation postponed. But Israel began a programme of targeted strikes in Rafah anyway. US President Biden spoke to the Israeli Prime Minister by phone on Monday and continued to warn that an operation in Rafah was not desirable or necessary, with a potential deal on the table. And on Monday, US National Security Council spokesman John Kirby was hopeful that a ceasefire was still possible.
As we've said before, we still believe that reaching an agreement is the absolute best outcome, not only for the hostages, but for the Palestinian people. And we're not going to stop working to that outcome.
On Tuesday, Israel took control of the Rafah border crossing as part of an operation that is intended to eliminate Hamas entirely, according to Israeli Defence Minister Yoav Gallant. The fact that the Rafah crossing is now under IDF control has serious implications in terms of the flow of humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. And Francis Leach from Action Aid UK said action needs to be taken.
We've been told for weeks now as aid agencies that both the US and UK government have said that an invasion of Rafah simply cannot go ahead. And now that we've seen that this invasion has gone ahead, we will be begging at the door of the government for them to do something about this.
Tuesday also saw Israel send a delegation to Cairo for peace talks, which were due to resume on Wednesday. Tommaso Della Longa is a spokesperson for the International Federation of the Red Cross, and he says that the situation is terrifying for those sheltering in Rafah.
The situation it's really deteriorating. Mainly there are hundreds of thousands of people who are fearing what's next, and they really don't know where to go and where to find safety, if there is any safety in the Gaza Strip.
By Wednesday, US President Joe Biden looked like he had lost patience with Israel and paused delivery of bombs to Israel after repeated warnings to Prime Minister Netanyahu not to go ahead with a military operation in Rafah. In the UK, Labour's Jonathan Ashworth said it's time for UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak to follow suit and publish legal guidance on arms sales.
When we look at what is happening in Rafah, that is catastrophic. When it comes to the issues of arms embargoes, we're still demanding that Rishi Sunak provides the legal justification, because if there are breaches of international law, then of course there should be action. But Israel has shown no sign of backing down on the planned assault on Rafah, and former Deputy Commander of the IDF, Amir Avivi, spoke to LBC and says there's no choice in the matter as far as the military are concerned.
Israel is not going to lose the war. This is an existential war. It's either Hamas or us. And not going into Rafah means Hamas stays in power, means they can build themselves endlessly. On Thursday, the UN said more than 100,000 people have already fled from Rafah as Israel continued to bombard the region with airstrikes and tanks. UK Foreign Secretary Lord David Cameron held a press conference to clarify the UK's position, which he described as quite different, as the UK is not a major arms supplier.
Our message to the Israelis is very, very clear, though. We wouldn't support a major operation in Rafah unless there's a clear plan to protect people and to save lives. And we haven't seen that plan, so we wouldn't support the major operation.
Meanwhile, as pro-Palestinian protests across UK universities have continued, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has been urging colleges to show zero tolerance towards any form of anti-Semitism. Vice-Chancellors met at Number 10 to discuss the protests, and Education Minister Gillian Keegan said that calm heads are needed.
It is clear that we need to show leadership, we need to de-escalate, and we need to share the best practice, which we've seen with some Vice-Chancellors.
After 10 days of turmoil, this week finally saw an end to Scotland's political chaos as the SNP confirmed John Sweeney as their new leader on Monday. He still faces considerable challenges running a minority government, but he has said he has no plans to reinstate the power-sharing arrangement with the Scottish Greens. He was a long-time deputy to former leader Nicola Sturgeon and at 60 years old has plenty of experience of leadership and negotiation. He was promising a new chapter and paid tribute to former leader Humza Yousaf as he accepted the nomination on Monday.
Our party must continue and will continue to be a light. We must continue to illuminate hope, fight for international justice, and be willing to stand up for what we believe to be correct.
Wednesday saw John Sweeney officially become Scotland's 7th First Minister. He was sworn in at the Court of Session, pledging to be a First Minister that would be the best he could be for everyone in Scotland. He was also busy announcing a reshuffle, which really only had one significant move, and that was the appointment of Kate Forbes, who had stepped away from a leadership bid as Deputy First Minister. She'll also take responsibility for the economics portfolio and the Gaelic language. The new First Minister also spoke about his family and thanked his wife, who battles with MS.
It is an extraordinary privilege to hold this office, and I thank Parliament warmly. To the people of Scotland, I would say simply this: I offer myself to be the First Minister for everyone in Scotland. I will give everything I have to build the best future for our country.
The start of the week saw Russia escalate tensions with the UK, warning that if British weapons were used by Ukraine to strike targets in Russia, that there could well be retaliation on British military installations and equipment. Tensions had climbed after Foreign Secretary David Cameron's visit to Kyiv, and Russia also announced that it will begin drills involving tactical nuclear weapons. French President Macron was busy on Monday hosting Chinese Premier Xi Jinping, along with EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. The Chinese leader is on a diplomatic tour of Europe with trips to Serbia and Hungary next. The meeting in Paris focused on trade, but Ukraine's European allies have also a close eye on Russia's relationship with China, and von der Leyen was keen to extend a friendly hand.
The European Union and China want good relations, and given the global weight of China, our engagement is key to ensure mutual respect and to find solutions to global challenges.
We also heard this week that Ukraine had foiled a Russian plot to assassinate President Vladimir Zelensky. 2 Ukrainian colonels had been recruited by Russian spy agency the FSB to kill the president as a gift for Vladimir Putin, but the plot was uncovered in time. Even without a surprise gift, it was a big week for Russian President Vladimir Putin. He was sworn in for a new 5-year term, which could see him rule over Russia for longer than Stalin. Then on Thursday, he oversaw Victory Day with military parades and speeches, but no sign of an actual victory for his forces yet in Russia's war in Ukraine. He did announce that Russia and Belarus are to begin joint preparations for tactical nuclear drills, which appears to be an escalation in response to Ukraine's strikes at targets within Russia. He says that the West has forgotten the lessons of World War II, praising Russian forces for their battles against the Nazis and turned the tide and painting Russia as a global peacemaker.
Russia will do everything it can to prevent global confrontation, but at the same time we will not allow anyone to threaten us. Our strategic forces are always on combat alert.
Still to come on the Standout 7, the stars come out for the Met Gala and tributes to an indie rock legend.
Right after this.
Planning for your next trip? Elevate your travel style with Quince. Quince has all the jet-setting essentials you'll want for your next getaway, like European linen, premium luggage options, buttery soft Italian leather bags, and so much more. And it's all priced at 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Plus, Quince only works with factories that use safe and ethical manufacturing practices. Pack your bags with high-quality essentials you'll be wearing for vacations to come with Quince. Go to quince.com/trip for free shipping and 365-day returns.
Welcome back.
Ofcom, the UK's media regulator, published new draft guidelines for tech firms on Wednesday, which are intended to provide better protection for children online. The guidelines follow on from the new online safety bill, and Ofcom CEO Melanie Dawes warned that companies who fail to follow the proposed guidelines would be named and shamed and could face a ban altogether. There were 40 elements to the new guidelines, and the primary focus is on rigorous age checks and adjustments to the content algorithms that serve inappropriate content to children's feeds. There's a consultation period on the new guidelines, but they may not be be implemented until late in 2025, which families and lobby groups say is too slow. But the Ofcom boss said she's clear on what needs to be done.
We are demanding proper age checks, and then that the social media feeds, those algorithms, are radically changed so that suicide and self-harm material, pornography are not available to under 18s.
This year's Met Gala nearly didn't happen at all, as a disagreement between the union and publisher Condé Nast almost saw journalists picketing the event. A last-minute deal meant the event could go ahead with hosts Zendaya, Bad Bunny, Chris Hemsworth and Jennifer Lopez. The theme for this year was the Garden of Time, which inspired some unusual looks on Monday night's red carpet at New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art. Sand flowers and power poses dominated the red carpet, with dramatic looks from Balmain for singer Tyla and Lana Del Rey's veil look in Alexander McQueen. The barrister Aya Dibri left her chef whites at home for the night and teased about the upcoming next season of her hit show and a possible rom-com.
A little teaser is that I got the weekend off, so I was allowed to come to the Met Gala. That's the teaser.
I heard that you guys are filming season 3 and season 4 back to back. Is that true?
I cannot confirm or deny.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, but we're working hard.
Wednesday brought sad news for rock fans as legendary icon of indie rock Steve Albini died. He was 61 years old and just about to release a new album with his own band Shellac when he suffered a heart attack at his Electrical Audio Studios. He famously preferred to be called an engineer rather than a producer, but his magic helped to make classic albums like Nirvana's In Utero, The Pixies' Surfer Rosa and PJ Harvey's Rid of Me. He was also a world-class poker player, winning the World Series of Poker in 2022 and 2018. A lifelong fan of analogue recording, he had a real passion for the importance of authentic sound. Rest in peace, Steve.
I feel like my day-to-day job is being a vector of history. Like, I'm making recordings which are going to sit on a shelf and then at some distant time are going to be discovered again. The making a permanent record, I take that aspect of it very seriously.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes and we'll give you the world.
Even on a budget, quality is non-negotiable. That's why Quince is the place to score high-end essentials at 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Get your hands on buttery soft cashmere sweaters from just $60, Italian leather jackets, and so much more. And the best part about Quince, they exclusively partner with factories committed to safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing. Elevate your style without the elevated price tag with Quince. Go to quince.com/upgrade for free shipping and 365-day returns.